Hello, my dear listener. Before I take you down this winding road of my life, let me remind you, if you find yourself holding your breath at any moment, or if my story stirs your heart in ways you did not expect, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and click the like button. That is the only way I will know that my voice has reached you, that my story has found a home inside your chest. Trust me, what you are about to hear is not just a tale, it is my confession. My name is Evelyn. I am 51 years old. And for the longest time, I lived with the illusion that love, once promised, once sealed with a ring and kissed under God's watchful eyes, would last until the world grew silent. I believed in loyalty. I believed in the warmth of shared mornings and the security of a man who swore never to leave. But life, I have learned, has no interest in the promises we make. It whispers temptations. It bends hearts. And sometimes, it breaks them. I was 39 the first time I felt it, the slow unraveling of a marriage that had seemed strong enough to withstand storms. My husband, Daniel, was a lawyer. A kind man, or so I thought. He had the discipline of routine, black coffee at 6, suit pressed the night before, a kiss on my forehead, and out the door by 7. For years, I admired that about him. His consistency was my anchor. But anchors, my dear, can also become chains. It began with distance. Not a violent distance, not the kind you can point at and say, "There, that's where it started." No. It was softer. He no longer looked at me when I spoke. His eyes wandered beyond my words, as if searching for something else, something I could not give. Nights became quieter. He claimed work, always work. Files and deadlines, clients and courts. I believed him, because denial is easier than truth. Then came the first whisper. It was a Tuesday evening, warm, with a restless wind sneaking through the curtains. He had left his phone on the dining table while he took a shower. I don't know why my hand moved toward it. I had never been the suspicious type. But something inside me, a woman's instinct, perhaps, compelled me. I unlocked the phone, and there it was. A message. Just one. Short. Dangerous. Can't stop thinking of you. Same time tomorrow? I froze. My heart thudded against my ribs like a trapped bird. My throat dried. My first thought was not anger. Not even betrayal. It was shame. As though I had been the one caught sinning. I placed the phone back exactly where it had been and sat still, my hands trembling on my lap, waiting for the sound of the bathroom door opening. When Daniel returned, hair damp, tie loosened, he kissed my cheek casually, sat down, and asked what was for dinner. Just like that. No sign of guilt. No crack in his voice. And I played along. I smiled, I served the food, I asked about his day. Inside, though, something shifted. A wall rose between us, unseen but heavy. For days, I lived in silence, carrying that one message inside me like a splinter I couldn't remove. I told myself it could be innocent. Maybe it was a client. Maybe I had misunderstood. But deep down, I knew. Women always know. The second whisper came a week later. A perfume. Strange, lingering on his shirt. Not mine. Too sweet, too bold. It clung to him like a mark of possession. And when I pressed my face into his collar that night, pretending to hug him tightly, I nearly wept from the cruelty of it. He smelled like someone else. Now, dear listener, here's where the story becomes complicated. Because while part of me drowned in betrayal, another part, one I dare not admit to most people, came alive. A hunger I had long buried began to stir. You see, Daniel's absence, his wandering heart, forced me to face the emptiness within myself. I was lonely. Desperately lonely. And loneliness can be dangerous. Her name was Clarissa. My friend's cousin. A painter who had recently moved into our neighborhood. She was in her early 40s, graceful, with the kind of laughter that filled a room and made you forget why you were sad. We met at a book club, of all places. She was not married, though she had once been. She carried her own scars. And perhaps, that is what drew us together, our brokenness recognizing itself in the other. One evening, after the meeting, she invited me to her home to see her art. Her house smelled of turpentine and roses, a strange combination that strangely fit her spirit, soft yet sharp. She showed me her canvases, bold strokes of red and gold, bodies entwined in ways that made me blush. She watched me closely as I stared, my cheeks burning. "Do they make you uncomfortable?" she asked, her voice low, almost teasing. "No," I whispered, though my voice trembled. "They make me feel." She smiled then, a slow, knowing smile that reached her eyes. "Good. That's the point." That night, when I returned home, Daniel was asleep on the couch, his phone clutched in his hand. I stood over him, staring at the man I had once loved, the man who had once chosen me above all others. And for the first time, I wondered if perhaps I was allowed to choose differently too. It did not happen quickly. No, affairs never do. They grow like vines, slowly creeping, wrapping around your heart until you can no longer tell where the guilt ends and the desire begins. Clarissa became my secret solace. Coffee in the mornings turned into walks in the park. Walks became dinners. Dinners became long nights of conversation, where silence did not feel heavy but comforting. And then, one night, when the rain beat against the windows and the world felt hushed, she kissed me. It was not hurried, not stolen. It was gentle, deliberate, like a question waiting for my answer. My answer was in the way my body leaned into hers, in the way my tears slid down my face, not from sorrow but from the terrifying relief of finally being seen. I was a married woman. I was also a woman betrayed. But more than that, I was a woman alive again. Do you see the cruelty of it, my dear listener? To be torn between two fires? One that burns your trust and another that ignites your soul. I told myself it was temporary. That I could stop anytime. That I was in control. But the truth was, control had slipped through my fingers long ago, the moment I read that message on Daniel's phone. 4 months, I lived 2 lives. In one, I was the faithful wife, smiling at dinners, attending social events, wearing the mask of respectability. In the other, I was a lover, reckless and free, meeting Clarissa in quiet corners, in rooms heavy with the scent of her paint and her perfume. And each time, I told myself it was the last. Each time, I lied. Suspense is not just in stories, you see. It is in the way a heart races when the phone rings unexpectedly. It is in the way you memorize lies, rehearsing them until they feel like truth. It is in the shadows of guilt that follow you, whispering that one day, everything will come crashing down. And it almost did. One night, as I returned home later than usual, Daniel stood waiting in the kitchen. His tie was gone, his sleeves rolled up, his eyes sharp. "Where were you?" he asked, his tone deceptively calm. I froze. My heart thudded. My tongue fumbled for excuses. "With the girls. Book club." He stared at me for a long moment, his jaw tightening. Then he simply nodded. "All right." He turned away, but something in his expression told me he did not believe me. That was the first crack. The first sign that my secret life was no longer invisible. After that night in the kitchen, when Daniel asked where I had been and I lied through my teeth, something inside me began to unravel faster. His suspicion lingered in the air like smoke after a fire. He did not confront me again, not directly. But his eyes followed me differently. His questions came softer, sharper. And I learned to lie more gracefully. At first, the weight of those lies pressed on me like a stone. My hands trembled when I spoke. I avoided his gaze. But after a while, lying became second nature, like breathing. I despised myself for it, even as I continued. It's a terrible thing, listener, when your tongue gets used to deceit. It changes you. It strips away the woman you once were. And yet, in the same breath, it made me feel alive. Clarissa was my escape. My secret flame. She painted with her whole body, arms streaked with color, hair falling into her eyes, lips stained with wine as she worked late into the night. And when I was with her, the world outside did not exist. There were no lies, no suspicions, no empty bed waiting at home. With her, I was not Daniel's wife. I was simply Evelyn. A woman. Desired. But every flame casts a shadow. One evening, as I stood in Clarissa's studio, tracing my fingers over the outline of a half-finished canvas, I asked her the question that had haunted me for weeks. Do you ever wonder where this leads? She set her brush down, wiped her hands, and tilted her head at me. What do you mean? I mean, us. This. I gestured between us, my chest aching with both longing and fear. It feels so dangerous. Sometimes I wonder if it's only a matter of time before everything collapses. Clarissa smiled, softly, almost sadly. Evelyn, everything collapses eventually. That's life. But why waste today worrying about tomorrow's ruins? Her words were like wine. They dulled the sharpness of my thoughts, made me reckless again. And so I leaned into her, into the warmth of her kiss, into the illusion that I could hold on to this forever. But forever, my dear listener, is a cruel word. At home, Daniel's distance grew wider, though he never mentioned the message I had once seen or the perfume I had once smelled. If he was still seeing her, the mysterious she of his texts, I did not know. Or perhaps I did not want to know. Denial is an easier bedfellow than truth. Instead, we played our parts. Husband and wife. Smiles at gatherings. Polite words at dinner. Silence in bed. Yet, there were moments, fleeting, piercing, when I caught him watching me. Not with love, not with anger, but with something else. As though he was trying to solve a puzzle he could not quite piece together. One such moment came on a Sunday afternoon. I was folding laundry when he entered the room quietly, leaned against the doorway, and studied me. What is it? I asked, forcing a smile. He shook his head. You've changed. The words made me stiffen. Changed how? Just, changed. His eyes lingered on me for a moment longer before he turned and left. I stood frozen, a sock in my hand, my heart pounding. Had he guessed? Did he know? Or was he speaking of himself, his own secret, his own guilt? Secrets are heavy things, my dear. They drag behind you, invisible but relentless. And then, as though fate itself enjoyed mocking me, something happened that shook me to my core. One evening, I went to Clarissa's house as usual. The sun had set, and her curtains glowed with golden light. I was nervous, more than usual, but I could not explain why. When she opened the door, she pulled me inside, kissed me breathless, and for a while, I let myself drown in her warmth. But later, as we sat curled on her couch, sipping wine, her phone buzzed. She reached for it absent-mindedly, glanced at the screen, and frowned. What is it? I asked. She hesitated. Nothing. A wrong number. She turned the phone face down on the table, but not before I caught the name flashing on the screen. Daniel. My heart stopped. The glass slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. For a moment, the world tilted. My ears roared. My chest tightened. Daniel? I whispered, my voice barely a sound. Clarissa's eyes widened, then narrowed with guilt. She opened her mouth, closed it, and finally sighed. Evelyn, listen. But I could not listen. My blood turned to ice. My hands trembled violently. The room felt too small, the air too thin. How do you know him? I demanded, my voice sharp, cutting through the tension. Clarissa swallowed hard. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. She stood, pacing, running her hands through her hair. We met months ago. At a gallery opening. He didn't tell me he was married at first. When I found out, I tried to end it. But he kept coming back. And then I met you. I never planned for this, Evelyn. I swear, I never planned for this. Her words stabbed me deeper than any betrayal I had imagined. Daniel's mistress. Clarissa. The woman who had awakened my heart was the same woman who had stolen my husband's. The room spun. My chest heaved with sobs I fought to contain. Clarissa reached for me, her hands trembling. I didn't know you were his wife when we met. And when I found out, God, Evelyn, I didn't want to lose you. I shoved her hand away, tears streaming down my face. You should have told me. I was afraid, she whispered. Afraid. The word echoed in my skull. I stumbled to the door, my legs weak, my vision blurred. The wall seemed to close in on me, her painting staring down with cruel, knowing eyes. I could not breathe. When I finally reached my car, I collapsed against the steering wheel, sobbing until my throat burned. Betrayed twice. By the same thread, woven in ways too twisted to comprehend. Do you understand, listener? Do you feel the weight of it? To discover that your lover and your husband shared the same bed of lies? To realize that all along, you were just another piece in their web of deceit? That night, I did not go home. I drove aimlessly through the city, the lights blurring through my tears, until exhaustion forced me to stop at a quiet motel on the edge of town. I lay awake until dawn, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every kiss, every whisper. How could I face Daniel now? How could I face Clarissa? And worse still, how could I face myself? The morning sun crept through the blinds, cold and unforgiving. I knew then that the fragile balance of my two lives had shattered. There was no going back. No pretending. No silence thick enough to hide the truth anymore. The question that haunted me was not whether I would lose everything, but how soon. I had barely slept at the motel. When dawn finally pried open the sky, my eyes were swollen, my chest hollow. The thought of going home filled me with dread, yet I knew I could not hide forever. Daniel would be waiting. On the drive back, the streets blurred past me. The radio hummed softly, but I heard nothing. My mind was a battlefield, Clarissa's tearful confession, Daniel's suspicious eyes, my own shame burning hotter than fire. When I pulled into our driveway, Daniel's car was already there. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles whitened. I prayed, oh, how I prayed, that I could walk in, slip into the rhythm of routine, pretend that nothing had changed. But denial had already lost its grip on me. The moment I stepped inside, Daniel was waiting at the kitchen table, a mug of untouched coffee before him. His eyes were dark, unreadable. You didn't come home last night, he said quietly. My throat tightened. I needed space. Space? His voice cracked slightly, though he tried to keep it calm. From what, Evelyn? I wanted to lie. The words perched on my tongue, ready to fly. But the weight of the truth pressed too heavily on my chest. I sank into a chair across from him, my hands trembling in my lap. Daniel, I whispered, I know about her. His eyes flickered, just for a moment, but it was enough. He leaned back, exhaled slowly, and closed his eyes. I see, he said. Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. My tears threatened to spill, but I bit them back. How long? I asked. Does it matter? He replied. Yes. My voice was sharp, breaking the brittle calm. How long have you been with her? He rubbed his temples, as though the weight of his own sins had finally caught up with him. A year. Maybe more. A sob broke free from my chest. A year? Daniel, a year. His jaw tightened. And what about you, Evelyn? The room fell still. My heart stopped. What do you mean? He opened his eyes then, piercing me with a look that stripped me bare. Do you think I don't notice? The late nights. The lies. The way you've changed. I may have betrayed you, but don't stand there pretending your hands are clean. My mouth went dry. The truth hovered dangerously close, ready to spill. But I could not, I could not bring myself to tell him the cruelest twist of fate. That the woman who had awakened me was the same woman who had betrayed me. That his mistress and my lover were one and the same. So I said nothing. I sat frozen, trembling, caught between confession and silence. His eyes searched mine. Who is he? I swallowed hard, my lips trembling. It doesn't matter. His fist slammed the table, making me jump. Don't tell me it doesn't matter. Who is he, Evelyn? But it wasn't a he. It was her. Clarissa. And to say her name would have set the whole house aflame. I rose abruptly, my chair scraping the floor. I can't do this right now. Coward, he muttered under his breath. I turned on him then, fury overtaking fear. Coward? You dare call me that? You, who broke every vow you made. You, who crept into another woman's arms while I kept this home standing. Do not call me coward, Daniel. His face hardened. Then admit it. Admit you've been unfaithful too. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. My eyes burned with tears, my lips pressed shut. And in that silence, he found his answer. He stood, his voice low, trembling with rage and pain. Who is she? I gasped. My heart stopped. She? He nodded slowly. I've seen the way you look at her. Clarissa. My knees buckled. The world spun. What did you say? Clarissa, he repeated, his voice breaking. My God, Evelyn, it's her, isn't it? It's always been her. My chest collapsed. The truth lay naked between us now, cruel and undeniable. Tears streamed down my face. I wanted to deny it, to scream that he was wrong. But my body betrayed me. The tremor in my hands, the crack in my voice, the way his name on my lips tasted like ash. Daniel's face twisted in horror, then fury. You? And her? He staggered back as though I had struck him. My wife. My wife with my mistress. Daniel, please. Don't. His voice thundered, echoing through the kitchen. Don't you dare speak. I reached for him, desperate, broken. I didn't know at first. I swear I didn't know she was. He shoved my hand away. His eyes blazed with betrayal so deep it cut me to pieces. Get out of my sight. My sobs tore free then, violent and uncontrollable. Daniel, I'm sorry. I never meant. Out. The word struck like a whip. I stumbled backward, choking on my tears, and fled the kitchen. My legs carried me blindly to the bedroom, where I collapsed on the floor, clutching at my chest as though I could hold the shattered pieces of my heart together. From downstairs, I heard the slam of the front door. His car roared to life, then sped away. And I was alone. Utterly, unbearably alone. Hours passed in a blur. The house was silent except for the sound of my sobs, my ragged breathing, the creak of the floorboards as I paced like a madwoman. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. Finally, with trembling hands, I picked it up. A message from Clarissa. Please, Evelyn. Talk to me. I never meant for it to happen this way. Rage surged through me. I hurled the phone across the room, watching it shatter against the wall. The sound was sharp, final, like a gunshot in the night. But even in my rage, I could not escape her. Her voice haunted me, her touch lingered on my skin, her kiss burned on my lips. And that, my dear listener, was the cruelest part of all. Despite everything, despite the betrayal, the lies, the destruction, I still loved her. Is that not the most dangerous kind of love? The kind you cannot kill, no matter how poisoned it becomes? That night, I lay in the ruins of my home, my marriage shattered, my lover exposed, and I asked myself the question I had dreaded all along. How do you choose between the man who vowed to love you forever but broke his promise, and the woman who awakened your soul but destroyed your trust? The answer did not come that night. Only silence. Only pain. And the knowledge that the storm was far from over. The morning after the confrontation, silence filled the house like a heavy fog. It was the kind of silence that didn't comfort, but suffocated. I wandered through the rooms barefoot, every corner echoing with Daniel's absence. His clothes were gone from the wardrobe. His toothbrush gone from the bathroom sink. The drawers that once held his cufflinks and ties were empty. He hadn't just left for work. He had left me. I sat on the edge of the bed, clutching one of his old shirts in my lap, pressing it to my face as if it might still hold the scent of him. But it didn't. It smelled of nothing. A hollow reminder of the man who had once been my anchor, my partner, my husband. I told myself I should be furious. I should rejoice that the man who betrayed me was gone. But all I felt was grief. Because betrayal doesn't erase love, not immediately. It tears it apart piece by piece, leaving the heart bleeding even as the mind screams for freedom. By afternoon, the whispers began. First, a phone call from my friend, Martha. "Evelyn, dear, are you all right? I heard Daniel's been staying at the inn by the highway." "Is it true?" My throat closed. "Who told you that?" "Oh, you know how people talk. It's a small town. Word travels." I forced a laugh. "It's nothing, Martha. Just a misunderstanding." But I could hear the doubt in her silence. I could feel the judgment brewing in the air like a storm. By evening, 3 more calls had come. Some gentle, some probing, all wrapped in the same thin veil of curiosity. Everyone knew something was wrong. They just didn't know the truth. Not yet. But Clarissa knew. She showed up at my door just as the sun dipped low, her eyes swollen from crying, her hands clutching a folded canvas against her chest. "Evelyn, please," she whispered when I opened the door. My instinct was to slam it in her face. My rage boiled at the sight of her. But my heart, traitorous, aching, wouldn't let me. I stepped aside, and she slipped in like a shadow. She set the canvas down on the table. It was a painting of me. My face, my hair, my eyes captured in bold strokes of gold and crimson. A woman alive, vibrant, loved. I stared at it, trembling. "Why would you bring this?" "Because I need you to know," she said, her voice breaking. "Whatever I had with Daniel, it ended the moment I fell in love with you. I didn't tell you because I was afraid I'd lose you. But Evelyn, losing you now is worse than any truth." Her words pierced me, reopening wounds I had tried to stitch closed. "You lied to me," I said, my voice raw. "You let me walk blind into this hell." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I lied because I loved you. And I couldn't bear to let you go." I shook my head, backing away. "Don't call it love. Love doesn't destroy everything it touches." She reached for me, but I pulled back. My chest burned with anger, grief, and a longing I hated myself for. Because even as I pushed her away, my body remembered her touch, my lips remembered her kiss. "Please," she whispered, "don't let him win. Don't let him tear us apart." Her words sliced through me. Us? Did such a thing still exist? Or had it all been a beautiful illusion built on lies? Before I could answer, headlights swept across the window. A car pulled into the driveway. "Daniel." Panic surged. Clarissa's eyes widened. "I'll go," she whispered. No, my voice shook, but I held firm. "Stay." Moments later, Daniel stormed through the door. His face was red, his eyes bloodshot, his body trembling with fury. When he saw her, his rage exploded. "You," he roared, pointing a shaking finger at Clarissa. "Get out of my house." Clarissa stood her ground. "This isn't just your house, Daniel. It's hers too. And if she asks me to stay, I will." His eyes snapped to me. "Evelyn. Tell her to leave." My throat constricted. The two of them stood before me, husband and lover, both betrayers, both broken, both tethered to me in ways I could no longer untangle. "Daniel," I began. "Don't," he snapped. "Don't you dare defend her. She used us both. Can't you see that? Clarissa's voice rose. I never used her. I love her. Love? Daniel spat. You don't know the meaning of the word. You're poison. You destroyed my marriage, my family. You destroyed it yourself. Clarissa shot back. You came to me. You lied. You used me as much as I used you. Don't pretend you're the victim. Their voices clashed like thunder, each word a strike that split me open further. I clutched my head, trembling, unable to breathe. Stop. I screamed. My voice cracked, raw with pain. Both of you, stop. The room fell silent. Tears streamed down my face as I looked at them, two people I had loved, two people who had ripped my life apart. I can't do this anymore, I whispered. I can't be the rope in your tug-of-war. You both betrayed me. You both lied to me. And I betrayed myself by letting it happen. Daniel's face softened, just for a moment. Evelyn. No, I said firmly, my voice steadier now. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if forgiveness is even possible. But I know this, I need to breathe again. I need to find myself again. Without either of you. Clarissa's lips trembled. Evelyn, please. I shook my head. Go. Both of you. Leave me in peace. Daniel's fists clenched, but he said nothing. He turned sharply and stormed out the door, slamming it behind him. Clarissa lingered, tears glistening in her eyes. I'll wait for you, she whispered. Even if it takes years. I'll wait. Then she, too, slipped into the night. I was left alone once more, the echo of their absence ringing louder than their presence ever had. The house was silent again, but it was a different silence now. Not suffocating. Not heavy. But fragile, like the first breath after drowning. I curled on the couch, clutching the painting she had left behind, staring at my own painted face. A woman alive. A woman broken. And for the first time, I wondered, could I ever be whole again? Days bled into nights, and nights into days. My house, once filled with laughter, with the rhythm of shared lives, had become a tomb. Each creak of the floorboards was a ghost. Each shadow whispered the names I no longer dared to say aloud, Daniel. Clarissa. I thought solitude would heal me. That in silence, I would find peace. But solitude, my dear listener, is a double-edged sword. It gives you space to breathe, yes, but it also magnifies every wound, every scar. Alone, there are no distractions from the truths you've tried to bury. And the truth was this, I loved them both, and they both destroyed me. The town whispered, of course. They always do. At the market, eyes lingered too long. Conversations hushed when I passed. Neighbors pitted me with polite smiles that hid their curiosity. I became the scandal they devoured over coffee cups. The wife. The mistress. The affair. Yet no one knew the full story. No one but me. And perhaps that was my punishment, to carry the weight of a story too heavy for others to understand. Daniel stayed away. I heard, through the grapevine, that he had taken a small apartment downtown. He buried himself in work, perhaps to avoid the wreckage we had both left behind. He did not call. He did not write. But I knew him well enough to feel his anger, his shame, burning from a distance. Clarissa, on the other hand, refused to disappear. Every few days, I found a note slipped under my door, or a painting left on my porch, small canvases of flowers, of skies, of women who looked suspiciously like me. The last note read, Love doesn't die just because we are broken. I'll wait for you. Always. I burned that note in the fireplace, but as the ashes curled, I wept like a child. One evening, as the autumn wind rattled the windows, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat by the fire. The flames crackled, hungry, alive. I stared into them and wondered if love was like fire, warming when tended, but merciless when left to rage unchecked. It was then that I heard the knock. I froze, glass trembling in my hand. It was late. Too late for visitors. My breath quickened as the knock came again, steady, insistent. I rose, each step toward the door heavy with dread. When I opened it, my heart lurched. Daniel. His eyes were tired, shadowed. He looked older than I remembered, as though the weight of our sins had carved lines into his face. "May I come in?" he asked. I hesitated, then stepped aside. He entered slowly, his gaze sweeping the familiar room. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence was not the suffocating kind this time, it was weary, resigned. Finally, he said, "I wanted to hate you. God, I tried. But the truth is, I hated myself more. Because I started it. Because I betrayed you first." His voice cracked. I had never seen Daniel cry, not once in all our years together. But now his eyes glistened. "I don't know if I can forgive you," he whispered, "but I don't know if I can stop loving you either." My chest ached with 1,000 unspoken words. I wanted to scream, to weep, to beg him to take me back, to beg him to leave me forever. But all I managed was a whisper, "It's too late, Daniel." He nodded slowly, as if he had expected it. "Maybe it is. But I needed you to hear me say it." And just like that, he turned and left. I watched his car disappear into the night, my tears falling silently into the glass in my hand. Later that week, Clarissa came. She didn't knock this time. She walked straight in, as though the house still belonged to her too. "I had to see you," she said, her voice trembling. "Please, Evelyn. Say something." I stared at her, at the woman who had both healed me and destroyed me. My hands shook, my heart raced, and for a moment I wanted to run into her arms, to surrender to the love that had made me feel alive again. But instead, I whispered, "We are ashes, Clarissa. Beautiful once, burning once. But ashes now." Her face crumpled. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Ashes can still spark again." "Not these," I said softly. She reached for me, but I stepped back. "Go," I whispered. "Please, just go." She lingered, her eyes pleading, but at last she turned and walked away. The door closed behind her with a soft finality, like the closing of a book. And I was alone once more. But this time, the silence was different. Not suffocating. Not fragile. But cleansing. The ashes of what once was, scattered, leaving room for something new. I do not know what tomorrow holds. Perhaps solitude. Perhaps healing. Perhaps a version of myself I have not yet met. But I know this, love is both the sweetest gift and the cruelest curse. It lifts, it burns, it scars. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from both the fire and the ruin it leaves behind. So here I am, my dear listener. A woman broken, a woman betrayed, but also a woman still standing. And maybe, just maybe, that is enough. If my story has touched you, if you've wept with me, raged with me, lived through these pages with me, then do not leave in silence. Subscribe, comment, and like. Tell me your thoughts, your stories, your scars. Let us not be alone in our pain, but bound together by the courage to speak it. Until next time, my dear listener.